Hey guys, I hope you're well. In this video, I will be giving my predictions for UFC 219, which will take place on December 30th and will be the last UFC card of the year. This card has great talent from top to bottom. There's just so many interesting matchups and it will definitely be a great night of fights. Let's begin. The first fight of the night, UFC Fight Pass prelims. Tim Elliott versus Mark the Bumblebee De La Rosa. Tim Elliott last lost to Ben Wynn by a rear naked choke at UFC Final 110. Mark De La Rosa is an undefeated fighter who holds a mixed martial arts record of 9-0 and is making his short notice UFC debut. Tim Elliott will be moving up to the bantamweight division for this fight due to his opponent not being able to make weight just a couple of weeks ago at UFC on Fox 26. Mark De La Rosa is coming into this fight on short notice, like I said before, and hasn't had a proper training camp. It is obvious that Tim Elliott is a UFC veteran who has faced the best of the best in the promotion and recently seems like a totally different fighter. Mark De La Rosa is undefeated and has a lot of submission victories on his record. Tim Elliott has already had a full camp, which should give him the advantage, whereas Mark De La Rosa is stepping up into the UFC where he's making a massive leap into world-class competition. I think I'll go with Tim Elliott by unanimous decision due to him having a full camp and his experience with the UFC competition. Next fight on the card is Louis Malka versus Matias Nicolau. Louis Malka last lost to Tim Elliott in a crazy grappling war by unanimous decision at UFC on Fox 24. Matias Nicolau last defeated John Moraga by a split decision at the Ultimate Fighter 23 finale. Louis Malka is coming into this fight on a 3-fight losing streak to Brandon Marino, Ray Borg and Tim Elliott, whereas Matias Nicolau is coming into this fight on a 2-fight winning streak. If you guys look at both fighters' records, you can clearly see Louis Malka has faced the best competition in the UFC, whereas Matias Nicolau has had 2 wins in the UFC, where we don't know how good he really is. I'm leaning towards Louis Malka, as he's the bigger and the more experienced fighter coming into this fight, where I believe he'll be able to grind out a unanimous decision win. Okay, moving on. Marvin Vettori versus Omar Ahmedov. Marvin Vettori last defeated Vito Miranda by unanimous decision at UFC Final 112. Omar Ahmedov last defeated Abdul Razak Al Hassan by a split decision at UFC Final 109. 8 of Marvin Vettori's 10 wins have come by submission, whereas Omar Ahmedov is a Sambo practitioner who also has a number of finishes on his record. I believe both fighters are evenly matched, where both fighters are equally good on the feet as they are on the ground. Marvin Vettori is a newcomer into the UFC, where he is 2-1 in the promotion, whereas Omar Ahmedov has been in the UFC since 2013 and is 5-3 in the promotion. This is a very tough pick, as both fighters are evenly matched up, but I think I'll go with Omar Ahmedov due to him having more experience in the UFC, as well as his Sambo background. Okay, next fight, Myles the Fury Jury versus Rick the Gladiator Glenn. Myles Jury last defeated Mike De La Torre by TKO at UFC 210. Rick Glenn last defeated Gavin Tucker by unanimous decision at UFC 215. Myles Jury looked amazing in his last fight, where he came back and made quick work of Mike De La Torre, breaking his 2-fight losing streak. If you guys saw Rick Glenn's last fight, he was absolutely lighting Gavin Tucker on his feet and had him on wobbly legs many times during the fight. Myles Jury is known for his footwork and is very good in moving in and out and has very good evasive skills. Rick Glenn is very clean with the strikes, where I can see him chasing Myles Jury down. This is another tough pick, but I'm going to go with Myles Jury. I believe he'll frustrate Rick Glenn with his movements and will land strikes from the outside to win the fight by unanimous decision. Okay, moving on. Last fight on the prelims. Khalil Rountree Jr. versus Michel Olash. I don't know how to say it. Let's just say Michel. Khalil Rountree last defeated Paul Craig by knockout at UFC Final 113. Michel will be making his UFC debut on short notice, where he is currently on a 9-fight winning streak. Khalil Rountree Jr. was expected to face Gokhan Saki on this card, but Gokhan Saki suffered an injury and was forced to pull out. Khalil Rountree Jr. has looked amazing in his last 2 fights, where he has put together 2 violent finishes. If you guys saw his last fight, he was so calm and patient with the striking and took his time to find the right openings and eventually got the knockout victory. I researched Michel's fights and I saw one of his fights on YouTube. This guy is very clean with his striking and he's very quick in moving in and out and striking. He also has a high finishing rate, where he has finished 9 of his 12 opponents and seems like a decent prospect. I'm going to go with Khalil Rountree just because he seems like a totally different fighter. If you guys saw him on The Ultimate Fighter and how he has evolved as a fighter, you'll see there's a massive difference. I can see him winning the fight by knockout in the first round or in the second round. Okay, moving on to the main card. Carlos Condit versus Neil Magny. Carlos Condit last lost to Damian Maia by a rear naked choke at UFC on Fox 21. Neil Magny last lost to Rafael dos Anjos by an arm triangle choke at UFC 215. Carlos Condit is making his longer awaited return after more than a year off, but I'm definitely excited to see how he comes back. Neil Magny has victories over Eric Silva, Kelvin Gastelum, Hector Lombard and Johnny Hendricks, but lately he seems to be the gatekeeper of the welterweight division. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to Carlos Condit's comeback, but you know there will be violence. Carlos Condit just leaves everything inside the octagon whenever he fights, where he has beaten down his opponents with his deadly stand-up skills. Neil Magny is a very tall welterweight who has used his reach to outstrike his opponents. Carlos Condit seems to be motivated, and a motivated Carlos Condit is a very dangerous man. I expect him to win this fight by unanimous decision. Okay, moving on. Cynthia Calvillo vs Carla Esparza. Cynthia Calvillo last defeated Joanne Calderwood by unanimous decision at UFC Final 113. Carla Esparza last defeated Marina Moroz by unanimous decision. Cynthia Calvillo made a UFC debut earlier in the year where she has racked up 2 submission victories over Amanda Cooper, Pearl Gonzalez, and pulled off a unanimous decision victory over ranked Joanne Calderwood. Carla Esparza is the former UFC strawweight champion who mainly relies on her grappling skills to grind out a victory. Cynthia Calvillo, on the other hand, is an excellent grappler who is just a wizard on the ground with the jiu-jitsu and is just so quick with the transitions. If you saw her last couple of fights, the way she transitions is just crazy. She's just so quick. The biggest advantage Carla Esparza has is her grappling skills, but I believe her strengths will play into Cynthia Calvillo's game, who can wrap anyone up in a submission. I believe this is a step up in competition for Cynthia Calvillo, and this fight will truly test how good she really is. I believe this fight is very tough for both ladies, while I'm leaning towards Cynthia Calvillo winning the fight by a split decision. Okay, next fight on the card, Dan Hooker vs Mark Jacasey. Dan Hooker last knocked out Ross Pearson with a vicious knee at UFC Final 110. Mark Jacasey last lost to Draco Close by a split decision at the Ultimate Fighter 25 finale. This fight is going to be a great fight between 2 high-level strikers. Dan Hooker is always very entertaining to watch, where he is both a good striker as he is a grappler. Mark Jacasey is very quick with his movements and uses a lot of flashy kicks to set his opponents up to land heavy strikes. This fight is going to be a great striking war. This is another very tough pick, but I believe Mark Jacasey's striking is more polished and he possesses knockout power in both hands. So I'm going with Mark Jacasey by unanimous decision. Now this is the fight I'm sure everyone's looking forward to. Habib Nurmagomedov making his return against the dangerous Edson Barboza. Habib Nurmagomedov last defeated Michael Johnson by a Kimura lock at UFC 205. Edson Barboza last knocked out Beneil Dariush at UFC Final 106. This is basically a grappler versus a striker matchup. Habib Nurmagomedov is known for his amazing grappling skills, where he is able to tie his opponents up on the ground and just has them helpless, where he just mauls them on the ground. Edson Barboza is one of the best strikers in the UFC, who is known for his brutal leg kicks. This is a very interesting matchup, as Habib has managed to take down all of his opponents he has faced so far, and he has always implemented his game very well. Edson Barboza has just looked amazing in his last couple of fights, where he's constantly improving. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I can't see Edson Barboza stopping Habib's takedowns. I know he trains with Frankie Edgar and Eddie Alvarez, but Habib is just a different animal. I can see Habib taking Edson Barboza down repeatedly and just beating him up very badly. I see Habib winning by a dominant unanimous decision, making a statement. Now the main event. In my opinion, I believe this is the biggest women's MMA fight to date. 2 of the biggest female stars fighting one another in a huge main event. Many thought that this fight would never happen, but the UFC managed to make both ladies happy into agreeing to fight each other. Cyborg became the UFC Women's Featherweight Champion when she defeated Tonya Avinja by TKO at UFC 214. Holm broke a losing streak when she knocked out Betch Correia at UFC Final 111. If you guys watch Cyborg's highlights on YouTube, you just see her crushing her opponents, and very often her opponents are intimidated by her presence. Holm, on the other hand, is known for a brutal knockout of Ronda Rousey at UFC 193, which nobody expected. Cyborg likes to chase her opponents down and just goes headhunting. Holm, on the other hand, is a patient counter striker who is very good with her movement. I believe Holm is a legit threat to Cyborg, as Holm wasn't afraid of taking this fight, and I believe Holm's game will have a massive effect on Cyborg's fighting style. Cyborg's aggressive fighting style plays very well into Holm's fighting style, where Holm is very good in moving backwards and will be able to land a counter strikes. You guys may not agree with what I'm going to say, but I've got a weird feeling for this fight. I believe this fight is going to be an upset. I know Holm had a rough patch, but with Cyborg's push forward fighting style and with Holm's counter striking, I believe Holm will just counter strike her all day long. This is just my opinion, guys. I believe Holm will frustrate Cyborg with her movements and will either win by a unanimous decision or she will get her signature head kick knockout finish. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you guys agree with me or not, and let me know your picks in the comment section below. Thank you.